Hello, whether you've followed all my lectures up to now or not, whether you've grasped it all or found much of it elusive. If you've come to understand Bitcoin even just a little, you'll probably acknowledge that it's a vast, coherent body of knowledge. You may even feel that it's a profoundly refined intellectual system. That means you've already come a long way. Don't mistake it for some shady get-rich-quick scheme for speculators chasing easy money. Anyway, if you consider yourself an intellectual, try solving the question I posed on Monday. If you can't, then honestly, there's not much hope. You're simply unfortunate, truly unfortunate. Yes, I'm being harsh, deliberately so. I tend to be especially tough on so-called elites, because frankly, they're privileged, yet they rarely study or think as much as they should. They present themselves as experts wherever they go, and people automatically assume they're wise and worthy of respect. If it weren't for Bitcoin, they might have continued on unnoticed. But if what I've been saying about Bitcoin is true, if it's a true Big Bang moment, and if in 20 years it reshapes countless lives as a genuine game changer, then these so-called intellectuals, basking in the glow of their reputations, will be revealed to have misled those around them through their ignorance. If only their ignorance affected them alone, it would be tolerable. But their laziness and refusal to think, their stubbornness, clinging to outdated knowledge from decades ago, have left others around them in ruins. That's why I don't pull punches. There's a video I haven't taken down. It's a total mess. Terrible sound and all, but it's my most popular one. In it, I explode at the end, and now you might understand why. By now, you probably get it. You might even think, yeah, he had every reason to be angry, and because in many ways, Bitcoin is deeply egalitarian. Profoundly so. I was invited to a gathering after publishing my book. A group I already knew, made up of alumni from Korea's top high school. A gathering of the nation's top intellectuals, so to speak. And among them was someone I genuinely respect. They asked me to come speak at our alumni gathering to give a talk based on my book. So I brought some copies of my book and headed over. Most of them were older than me, people I respectfully call seniors. What happened there really left me stunned. I sat there for 3 hours and not once was I given a chance to speak formally. Basically, it was like, yeah, good job writing your book. I'll take a look sometime, and that was it. Only recently did I find out. One of them had serious hostility toward Bitcoin at the time. He believed he understood Bitcoin and made comments back then too. He said things like, it's just a pile of digital rocks. Then I saw his Facebook recently and I realized, so he was the reason. He's still clueless about how little he understands Bitcoin. And yet, he graduated from one of the top universities, right? He studied economics of all things. It's beyond frustrating, truly baffling. He carried himself in a way that made sure I wouldn't get a word in. So I left that gathering without even speaking, a bitter experience, honestly. But that's how these so-called elites behave. Self-reflection, it's a foreign concept to them. That's why Bitcoin is so equalizing. That's exactly the point I want to make. One of the most academically competitive schools in so-called Gangnam 8 district. I was given the opportunity to give a special lecture there. I was assigned the lecture, and I emailed them saying I'd use my book, Bitcoin Was Strong, as the main text. The teacher in charge replied very cautiously, saying, some of the students' parents are a bit sensitive, so it would be better to use a more wholesome book. That was their gentle suggestion. Well, they didn't outright say my book wasn't wholesome. I read the email, and yes, this person belongs to the intellectual elite too. They've studied at Korea's top institutions and even pursued a PhD, and still they just don't get it. That's why Bitcoin was strong, sold out everywhere thanks to people like you. You even searched secondhand bookstores and couldn't find it until the reprint came out online. While you all were eager to get your hands on that Bitcoin book, this teacher insisted it wasn't wholesome enough. So I had to ditch Bitcoin Was Strong and use another book for the class. Later on, I still managed to talk about Bitcoin Was Strong. The students absolutely loved the lineage story because it clicked immediately for them. The fact that a lineage game item could sell for tens of thousands of dollars. Now, if you tell that to someone with a top university degree from Korea, someone with a background in the humanities or economics, and someone who prides themselves on academic titles, they'll just shrug it off. Oh, that's what gamers do. Just some kids doing delivery runs and playing games. They'll sneer. That's genuinely how they think. They never view it as a subject worthy of serious inquiry, but that's how unfortunate they are. They're just as unfortunate intellectually as they are culturally. That's why they're completely missing the magnitude of Bitcoin. And yet their pride won't let go, so they just applaud the director of the Bank of Korea saying, well done, fine. Here, I'll applaud too. Bravo, well done indeed. But the students, the ones without those preconceptions, simply observing the world, found my story absolutely fascinating. I told them that lineage items were selling for tens of millions of won. Then I explained the historical context and the logic behind it. I said that one day, this might evolve into a form of money in their own lives. And I broke down the true essence of money itself. The kids were deeply moved. There's genuine hope in them. And all of this is already embedded in the idea of Bitcoin. The lineage economy, Cyworld acorns, OK cashback points, they all feed into it indirectly. And yet these are phenomena born in Korea. Real-world social experiments we already carried out, all of them have now been tied together by foreign intellectuals. Meanwhile, we're rejecting it, our elites specifically. That's why Bitcoin is equalizing, because Bitcoin itself is profoundly mysterious. By the standards of conventional knowledge, we're all clueless when it comes to Bitcoin. Whether it's me, them, or you, we're all starting from ignorance. The difference is I chose to study, but who actually has better access to this mystery? Those without prior knowledge often understand it more easily. I mean, if they encounter good sources of information. But the people they rely on are often those parading their outdated credentials when these gatekeepers block the way. In the face of this mystery, things like academic pedigree or job title mean nothing. What matters is only this: do you understand it or not? No. This knowledge is so vast, it levels the playing field. That's why it's so equalizing. Many of you saw the video I posted on Sunday, the one where I said this is valuable because it carries the tears of Bitcoin. Most of you understood what I meant. You just felt it. It clicked intuitively. But the so-called intellectuals, this guy clearly doesn't understand sunk cost fallacy. That's how they respond. Isn't that the beauty of equality? If Bitcoin were just the rambling of lunatics, it would have vanished by now. But no, this is something uncanny, like a UFO phenomenon. Even the US admitted UFOs exist. Bitcoin exists just like UFOs do. In other words, there's something real here. We just don't fully understand it yet. That's all we need to admit. The greatest humility an intellectual can show is saying, there's something here I still need to understand. Even getting that far would let them stand on equal ground and finally start moving toward the truth. But these folks, so rigid, so obsessed with labels, they're thinking, who is this guy? He's got no pedigree. That's all that occupies their minds. You can see it written on their faces. Who are you? Did you pass the civil service exam? What university did you go to? Who are you to talk about money or say anything about ledgers? You want to hear something a little brutal? While on military leave, I once brought a book to my university. I bought it at a bookstore near campus. I think it was Clausewitz on war. I was sitting in my university's main library, flipping through a book. On my way to the restroom, something caught my eye. I saw my juniors each at their cubicles, heads buried in their books. Every single one of them was studying for state exams. I was genuinely shocked. So I walked through the entire first floor to see more. And seriously, Clausewitz on war, not a single book like that, not one, not even one. It was a desert of intellectual curiosity, just technical textbooks and exam prep guides. That moment left me with a deep sense of dread. I thought, if this continues, Korea is headed for intellectual bankruptcy. Let me be clear, I respect those who passed civil service exams and earned PhDs, but we should also know where that ends. It's valuable, but it ends there. It shouldn't get credit beyond that. It simply signals this person has discipline, didn't waste their youth, was serious about their future, and perhaps had a sense of public service. But here's what I want to emphasize. You shouldn't pretend to be knowledgeable in fields you haven't studied. Why? Because those people have more responsibility. People look up to them. Society grants them authority, rightly or not. Like that lecture where 30 officials, including the Bank of Korea's director, were present. That's where we clashed. One high-ranking official lost a debate with me, and suddenly he says the speaker's attitude is inappropriate. He nearly slipped and said, how old is this speaker anyway? But I caught what he really meant. What's with this guy's tone? Young, no title. Who does he think he is lecturing us? That was the subtext. When confronted with true intellectual challenge, that's all they have left. And I know that's their bottom line. That's the floor of their reasoning.